Welcome back to Fox 9 all day on this Thursday afternoon. Rob Olson in for Amy Hockert this afternoon. Important conversation coming now as we talk about the end of the 43-day government shutdown ending last night when a temporary funding measure was signed into law and raced to the president's desk after a quick run through the House chamber last night. The Republicans champion this as a win for the GOP. A lot of Democrats are not happy with what has happened with this, and in Minnesota, our congressional delegation voting right along party lines. Joining me right now, Congresswoman from Minnesota, Betty McCollum, the Dean of the Minnesota Congressional Delegation. Betty, thanks for joining us. You have issued some pretty strongly worded statements about your staunch opposition to what happened last night. Tell us your stance on this.
Well, first off, shutdowns are never good. They are bad for everyone. They're bad for our economy. They're bad for our federal employees. They're bad for the people who rely on receiving the services. So no one should ever want to shut down. But I very, very concerned about what is happening right now with healthcare in Minnesota. The affordable tax care credits from the ACA or MNsure are going up, and people are seeing their skyrocketing premium costs. Some of my constituents are telling me that they're not even going to be able to afford to buy insurance anymore. Some of my small businesses that go through the exchange, they aren't going to be able to get it for themselves, let alone for their employees with what's happening with the insurance premiums. So I'm very concerned about that. And it didn't have to be this way. After President Trump passed his big, beautiful bill, it turned out to be pretty ugly for people who use the tax credits to purchase down their health insurance. We protected millionaires, made all their tax cuts permanent, all the large corporation tax cuts permanent, but we didn't extend or even attempt to address any concerns the Republicans might have had about the health insurance tax credits for the families that I represent.
Yeah, and that's been, of course, the big sticking point here throughout this is the concerns about the cuts to the Affordable Care Act and people losing access to affordable health care. Some of the Democrats, especially on the Senate side of things, who broke with the party to vote in favor of this, said that they didn't see an end in sight to this shutdown, that they felt that this sort of standoff over these issues wasn't going to end. Where did you see this going? I mean, do you think that they have a point there? Do you staunchly disagree with that? I mean, did you think that this would ultimately come to a different conclusion if this didn't go through?
Well, we were hopeful that it would come to a different conclusion, especially those up in the House. So let me just set the table here a little bit. The House hasn't been in session for almost 50 days here. And the Republicans passed their CR, which didn't extend the tax credits. They knew how we felt about that. We had been talking about it since the vote on the big ugly bill, big beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it, but it's ugly for people who need health insurance, what happened in that bill. And we told them that if they wanted to work with us to make sure that people could afford a health insurance, we were willing partners. And instead, Speaker Johnson, put his bill through, rammed it over to the Senate, and didn't have us come back into session to do any of our regular work, which caused the shutdown in the first place because we haven't passed all the appropriation bills and got them going by October. So we've been just mortified at the way the speakers conducted the House. Now, what happened in the Senate is Thune, once again, refused to negotiate with the Democrats. It's a tight number. The president said that he didn't need to talk to the Democrats about anything. They control all three branches of government. Because right now it appears that they're even controlling the courts. So they figure that they don't need to engage with Democrats. But in the Senate, some of the Senate Democrats broke with it. I think we still had time to really push the issue to make sure that we got these tax credits extended for hardworking families. and for our small businesses. But the Senate was tired of dealing with it. Mr. Thune was not going to negotiate, so they forced a vote, and some of the senators went along with it. I think they have buyer remorse this morning now that they found out that there's $8 million, $1 million apiece for 8 senators put into that bill, which was dropped in, at the last minute, which is, in my opinion, also illegal.
We spoke yesterday to Congressman Tom Emmer of Minnesota, the majority whip, and when I asked him about these issues with the Affordable Care Act extensions, and he said, in his view, that was a small part of the Democrats' position, that there were other concerns, that there were other issues here, that wasn't the major one. How do you respond to that? What context can you add to that?
Well, he's right. I do have other concerns, but our main focus as of right now was to make sure that we got the affordable tax credits. And, they weren't talking to us. So if a reporter like you asked me, are there any other concerns that you think should be addressed? Of course, I'm going to mention the fact that the president used SNAP as a weapon. I'm an appropriator. He broke appropriations law by not immediately releasing any funding to SNAP. Instead, he put a total panic on people all across this country by not having their nutrition cards reloaded for themselves, for their children, for seniors, and that, using SNAP as a weapon. So of course we would mention that, but our focus has always been the healthcare crisis, which didn't have to happen. We mentioned that time and time again when the big, beautiful bill was being written, in the Ways and Means discussions on the floor. This was nothing new to the Republicans, how Democrats felt about protecting healthcare for tens of millions of Americans.
Okay, and then finally here, what happens here by the end of January? What needs to get done now over the next less than 3 months?
I'm afraid on the healthcare benefit, they actually might run out the clock for Americans by pushing this into January. If we don't get a vote in the next couple of weeks here early in December, where we can save off these huge increases that people are looking at for their healthcare, they have to pick their plans now. So some people are choosing not to pick a plan. People are paying more for a plan that covers less. And it's just going to be too late to get the insurance companies to get everybody, back and renegotiate everything. So I think they're running the clock out on us.
Okay.
So let's see if they can get the appropriation bills done. There's 9 of them left, or we're right back with a government shutdown, irrespective of their failure to handle healthcare.
Okay, so one chapter is ended here, but that doesn't mean the story is anywhere close to being over. Betty, thank you again. Congresswoman Betty McCollum joining us from D.C. Appreciate your time and your insights here.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.